Everyday people do everyday things, but I can't be one of them. We are a different kind. We can do anything. We could be heroes, me and you, and we can choose what we want to be. This episode of Being Cameronites is solely dedicated to and intends to salute the spirit of few amongst us, the commoners, so to say, though there are many silent volunteers whose contribution we deeply appreciate. These Cameronites, in their individual capacities, limited means, time constraints, and geographical distances, truly were the catalyst in Cameron Hall Alumni Association's Project Sahyog initiatives. Without their zealous and self-motivated support, we couldn't have made an impact. So a little background of which is important to know. It was 26th of April, 10 a.m. Indian Standard Time, exactly 2 months back. An SOS message was received on Cameron Hall Alumni Association's social page about Ma'am Khanduri needing oxygen support at home. Amidst a lot of panic, we started looking out. Within minutes, we managed to source the oxygen support and we got it delivered at her home. Although we couldn't save her. This incident was the turning point in bringing us all together as a team and doing our bit for the Cameron Hall community. An emergency huddle meeting of Cameron Hall Alumni Association was called, and the broader plan was shared in the Cameron Hall Alumni Association Life Members Group, which set the ball rolling with a simple 2-point agenda. A, mobilize oxygen support for Cameron Hall community at large in Dehradun. B, initiate a kitchen to deliver fresh, healthy food to the affected families. This is how the journey of Project Sahyog started. On this very special episode of Being Cameronite, I'm very happy to bring faces of some of the many Cameronites who worked silently in the background, ensuring as a team we deliver and were able to make an impact during the unprecedented times that we had to face. Let me welcome Hemant Kochar, President, Cameron Hall Alumni Association, class of 1989, who, with his able leadership, got Project Sahyog sailing and to greater heights. Ma'am Anurita Sharma, ex-teacher at Cameron Hall, someone who needs no introduction. She spearheaded the food kitchen efforts of Project Sahyog. Mr. Rajiv Jindal, Vice President, Cameron Hall Alumni Association, class of 1992, and also our go-to person for all the crisis situation. My childhood friend, Ashish Garg, class of 1997, who, while based in California, not just rallied behind the campaign and mobilized the support from fellow Cameronites we needed, but also was our cheerleader. Ms. Shruti Dhawan, co-team member of Cameron Hall Alumni Association, class of 1992, an integral part of our efforts from start to the end, ensuring oxygen support at odd hours, finalizing the menu for the kitchen, and turning to be there personally during ration distribution efforts in remote villages. Next is my classmate and friend Meenu Karakoti, fondly known as the monitor of class of 1996 in our WhatsApp group, also life member of Cameron Hall Alumni Association, who worked without any mandate or brief and tirelessly worked round the clock, even at times as odd hours as 3 a.m., doing voluntary work for calling, following up, and authenticating leads for oxygen, medicines, bed availability. Abhinav Arora, class of 1996, and co-team member of Cameron Hall Alumni Association. He ensured that the vaccination camp conducted smoothly at Cameron Hall campus, and it was successfully concluded. Last, and by no means, my good friend Gaurav Agarwal, class of 1996, and co-team member of Cameron Hall Alumni Association. He spearheaded our efforts to reach out to the vulnerable families, especially in the remote villages of Uttarakhand. It is important for me to also mention that this particular effort is still going on. So welcome everybody, welcome to the show. How are you guys doing?
Hi everyone.
Great. Hi everyone.
Hi Sachin, hi everyone.
Hi.
Good to be here.
Hi.
Sachin.
Hi.
Everyone.
Thanks for having us again on the show, on your special episode show, actually.
Yeah. Also, I think this is very interesting that we are as we record this show, this is happening at 3 time zones. So that's also one of the first for being Cambridge episode. Okay, so guys, because we are all Cambridgeites, this is a very informal kind of a chat that we're going to have. What we are going to be doing is that I have some set of questions that I will start asking each one of you. And I will point out those questions to each one of you. At any point of time you think you want to add, please feel free to do that. Yeah. So I'll start with Mr. Hemant. Senior, a campaign of this effort, right, of this sort has never been done by Cayman Hall Alumni Association, right? And do you actually think that start of Project Sahyog, when we actually started, that we will be able to take this to this scale and be able to touch various aspects of rehabilitation, which we actually did? Also, if you just give to our listeners and people Cambridgeites watching the show, just bit of heads up in terms of what we have been able to do till date with regard to Project Sahyog.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sachin, and great effort by you that we're talking about this subject today. When we started off, we never thought that we can do a project like this because in COVID times, most of us were either isolated or we were in our houses and we couldn't even do much. I, for that matter, didn't contribute much because I was at home with my parents and couldn't come out. A lot of other people also. The way this whole idea came up, and I remember you being the torchbearer of this whole idea when you had suggested us that why don't we do something for the community? And that was exactly after Ma'am Khanduri, I think, passed away. And so from there onwards, it's been 2 months journey. We firstly thought of the urgency of setting up an oxygen bank, wherein it started with a limited community service, but later on we expanded that whole horizon, and we got more cylinders in place, and slowly it started growing. And as it started growing, the enthusiasm to do this also went up. Then there was another thing which came up, and it was that we should provide food service to everybody. We had our own, difference of opinions. I had a difference of opinion where I thought that it should be done in a different way. Somebody had a different way. But ultimately, it was amicably decided that we will provide food service to all COVID patients, not only to the Cayman Hall community, but to the community at large. We've done about 4,000 meals in this period, which is commendable, which has to be praised because it was a difficult task, but the way it was done was beautiful. And then we also, in this whole course, we hired about 7 different people who joined us on our roles. We have to praise them because they were lending a hand in getting all the inquiries from various places we were getting, and to provide oxygen cylinders and help in time. And the logistics where we had these 2 people who were providing service for refilling of cylinders and sending them to various people's homes. And so these people really contributed. We should give them a round of applause for what they've done. And over 200 people were vaccinated in our vaccination drive. This was also an idea which we suddenly got, and again, torchbearer has been Sachin, where he said that we should do this, and fortunately, it was pulled off very well. And then the ration service, the thing which we started providing the ration to people, and we've already done about 600 families till now, which is again an effort which was unimaginable because we didn't know who would actually go to the villages and do this. Then again, Rajiv, Shruti, and Gaurav, they all came forward and they said they're going to go there. And so it was again beautiful effort, and it was difficult. I'm sure that it must be very difficult for them also to do. We got a lot of contribution from people, unexpected, because we were thinking that if we want to do this, we would be needing some funds. And so just a message from Sachin on the social media, brought in so many people who came ahead and they helped us out for funds. And the contributions were very generous. Some people really donated from their heart. And we were able to generate from about 70 people who gave us total fund of about 25 lakhs. which is again appreciable and totally which we never expected. I hope that the association, this effort which is going on right now is again, really commendable. What the team is doing and all the people are doing. We are all colleagues, and we've. I mean, at this moment of time, if we can't do anything for the society, I think we will not. This is something which we will remember always. That what we are doing right now. Events can happen, a lot of things can happen in the association, but this is something which we'll never be able to forget. That what we did for our community or for community at large.
One thing.
Yeah, sure. Please go ahead.
Hemant talked about this concept called community many times. What I've usually noticed that it usually takes a crisis for a community to come together.
Absolutely.
And I think COVID-19 is probably the biggest crisis all of us have seen in our lifetime. And hopefully this never ever happens again. So I'm just amazed how this crisis that happened and whatever happened with our favorite Ma'am Kanduri, unfortunately she passed away, but that became the rallying cry for all of us to come together. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things that have happened for our alumni association.
We never thought that as a community such at large, we can actually sitting at such remote location, we will be able to do something. And more importantly, I'm sure everybody will echo with this. When we started off, we had no idea where we will reach. It was just a small little effort that we thought, let's start with the oxygen support. I think that was the only idea all of us had in mind. Let's do a bit, right? And I feel very proud that today, 2 months down the line, exactly, this is such a, nice thing to have. Exactly 2 months now that we are talking, that we were able to cover all the things that Senior you said. Just taking a clue from what Senior you said, Hemant Senior, I'll go to Shruti ma'am. And I'm going back to those days which were actually not very good, those dreadful days, those peak times of early May, which is where the oxygen played such an important role, right? The oxygen support. And this is where, people were so panicked, we were so worried. So ma'am, if you could just let us know, tell us, how did we actually go about the entire process? Because what I remember is that there was so much chaos going on, right? Everywhere, and panic. 2 words, if I could say, chaos and panic. So how did we manage the entire logistics? And I know, you were the one who was spearheading the efforts apart from everybody in the team. So please, can you just take us through what happened and how did we go about?
Okay. Hi, Sachin. Hi, everybody. Thanks again. And okay, so we started, as you rightfully said in the beginning, regarding Ma'am Kanduri. That's where it triggered, actually. And your messages on WhatsApp actually kickstarted it. So it got us all thinking, and we really wanted to do something about it, but nobody had a clue. So when this oxygen cylinder, when I think for Kanduri ma'am, oxygen cylinder was arranged like within minutes or hours, and right, and then but unfortunately, we couldn't save her there. She had other ailments also, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. But anyhow, and then it got us started, and then we formed a team, and we started with a helpline where anybody, and basically Cambridgeites, ex-Cambridgeites who needed oxygen, and there were many of them like that. So they would call up on that number, and then an inquiry was floated on the group, and within minutes, everybody was at it. Everybody was working at it to procure those oxygen cylinders and, sending them to the right place. The first thing was to talk to them, to calm them down, just find out what's happening with them. And then in the meanwhile, we were arranging, because every family was in a panic situation. Every family. And it was difficult to control. We could save some, couldn't save some, but we were doing our bit. And I really want to thank the Gimranite fraternity, Gimran Hall fraternity rather, for putting in so many funds that it became easy to work and easy to help people. We couldn't have done anything without those funds, believe you me. I mean, how much, all of us as individuals can put. Not really. But all Kimhanites. And thanks to Sachin, actually, he was the driving force behind it. But people were doing it voluntary, right? We didn't ask anybody for funds, but looking at the situation, everybody just wanted to help some way or the other.
Ma'am, tell me, what was when you go back and think about it? So according to you, right, if you start thinking about that time, what do you think was the biggest challenge that you thought was facing? And this was something that you thought, okay, this is how you need to deal with it. For someone to just think about it in, God forbid, another such crisis happen. So what, according to you, was one of the first and the simplest thing that you did?
Sachin, I think the biggest challenge was that we people are not paramedics or doctors or anybody like that, right? Nobody knows how to put an oxygen cylinder, how to wo kitni supply honi chahiye, kitna kya hona chahiye, right? So the biggest challenge was that oxygen cylinder पहुंचा दिया, उसके साथ के instruments भी पहुंचा दिए, but then how to put it, finding out about the patient, about the family, then explaining to them how it's working, okay, and getting all the details from them and sending the oxygen cylinder, and also, and of course within, and also inquiring them they know how to use it, because most of the people, like laymen like us, don't really know how to use the oxygen cylinder. We've only heard of it, but we don't know how to use it, right? So there was a person being sent at every place, whosoever needed it, to go and fix it and tell people how to use it. So we hired an auto guy, and just to have these sent, and people's cars were running. Yes, their personal cars and drivers were running to deliver in case of an emergency. All of us were like looking at our phones and the WhatsApp groups 24/7. We were all at it. Yeah. Whether it was the middle of the night, whether it was wee hours of the morning, whatever it was, cylinders are as late as like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. types. Yeah. So it was like a 24/7 thing.
Okay, so while you were saying 24/7, one of the things that comes to my mind is, because we were a large team of people, right? And most of us were working virtually, which also becomes kind of a challenge, because when you're not used to meeting people. So Rajiv, tell me this now. So what, according to you, was the biggest challenge that we were facing those times, right? More importantly, all of us were remotely or were virtually connected to each other, right? So, and how did all the coordination happen? If you just can tell us a bit about that, because there is a whole lot of things, as Hemant Senior said, in terms of the spectrum of work that we did. So how did we go about? Can you just give us a bit of view about how the back office, as you per se, or the teams were working?
Yeah, Sachin, as you rightly said, there was an atmosphere of anxiety, fear all around, and or even we were in that state initially, because we were hearing stories about shortage of oxygen cylinders, people not getting beds, just everything. So when you floated this idea, and it was an excellent idea, thanks to you. So our core committee, basically, you know how CHA works. We have a core committee, so we spoke to each other regularly. So the biggest challenge we were facing at that time, that we were holed up inside our house. We were not able to move out because of the curfew, because of the fear which was there in our mind. So the biggest one thing is how to find people, who would do groundwork. How would we deliver cylinders to? Buying cylinders was easy, but how to deliver them to the needy? How would the people who require the cylinders, they would communicate to us? So the first thing which was decided was to have 2 helpline numbers, so that people could have communicated with us easily. So 2 helpline numbers were arranged, and then Hemant, his staff, they did a wonderful job. Like, as I said, finding people to work on ground, that was the biggest challenge for us. So everybody pulled. Then how would we find a delivery boy? Ma'am Amrita Sharma, suggested 2 guys. One was an auto rickshaw driver, so we hired him. So entire thing, in bits and pieces, it was arranged. And then everything could not have been discussed in this, core committees around 14, 15 people. So we, divided ourselves in groups. So if I remember, we had one dry kitchen thing headed by Ma'am Amrita Sharma. So I think Shruti, you and me, we were a part of that, Hemant. So which were coordinating the kitchen activities. Then we had this oxygen supply, which was the main, concern. I mean, kitchen was secondary, which was the main concern was oxygen. So we had a group for oxygen.
Yeah.
I think we had around 6 to 7
Yeah.
6 to 7 people in that oxygen group, which worked 24 hours. I mean, as Shruti rightly said, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and there was so many situations where, initially there was such a huge shortage of flow meters. So the entire team would work and, hunt for flow meters. Kahan se milenge, dhama wala se milenge. That was a challenge. So then we had one more group, step by step. I mean, these were happening step by step. We were meeting all of us regularly in the core group. And the best part is that we were all speaking in one voice. There was, unanimous decisions were being taken. This is the beauty of, our association. I mean, let me tell you.
I totally agree to this. Yeah.
So we all speak in one voice. I mean, we may have disagreements on certain things, but ultimately it is one voice. So we were able to do so much because like I was working on the ground, our team was working on the ground. We knew that we had this support from Hemant. We knew that this support was there from core committee. So many unanimous decisions were being taken on the ground. So this way we were working. And I remember the first meeting where everybody was in a very, very, very sad mood. So me. So I just told everybody, man, let's joke, let's laugh. If we are in this mode, we can't work. We have to cheer ourselves up. And we were joking also because we were all facing personal challenges. Like my brother was down with COVID. Somebody else was also down with COVID. And, so this is the way we were working. Everybody in the family was infected by, the whole families, they were infected by COVID. So practically we could feel that there was nobody to feed them. So then I would thank Ma'am Amrita Sharma because again, a person on the ground, who will do it, who will book. So she volunteered and she did a wonderful job. All thanks to you, ma'am.
Yep.
And till date, we have, provided 4,000 meals, as Hemant has said, which is a big thing, free of cost. I mean, ensuring supplies, ensuring that the meal reaches the person at the right time. There were demands that, bina piyaj ke, bina adrak ke khana. She even did that, the team. I mean, it was wonderful. And that I think lastly, we then vaccination camp, Abhinav and the entire team, they did a wonderful job. I would like to mention that we did it free of cost for the staff and fourth class employees of Cambridge Hall. They were not charged. So for both the doses, we'll not be charging them. So it was a, gratitude, whatever we call. So lastly, then came dry ration because we were getting continuous requests as so many people were, they didn't have employment. They were not getting the payments on time and they were badly in need of dry ration. So again, you also took an initiative because you were short of funds at that time. A special group was created for that. And I would like to thank Gaurav Agarwal for that. Plus Shruti, who's we took, her staff has been doing they've been working 24 hours. The enthusiasm of young volunteers, which we saw on the vaccination day, it was really nice. They were all from 2021 to 2020 batches, young guys. I mean, they were ready to run wherever we asked them. So that was the captivating thing from that vaccination camp. And I think it is going to help us in a long way, all the youngsters getting together. And I would like to thank the school administration because without their support, without Dr. Byala's support, who always volunteered vaccination camp, yes, I'm ready, store chahiye, 24 hours, store is working, Krishna sir, they were all there to help us. Just a phone call away.
You touched upon the important aspect, food, as you said, because entire families were affected, and that became such a huge aspect.
Yes.
Because even if people were recovering, the families were recovering, it was very important they get and eat the healthy food, right? So
Yes.
I'll come to Amrita ma'am, to you. Not just the food aspect, one of the things that we decided, and we knew that you would be the right person. So the first line of communication was going from you. After anything came on the helpline number, you were the first point of contact. So just help us with, or tell us a bit about the experience while talking to the people, right? What were the families telling you? What were the challenges you thought at that point of time people had? And how did we manage it? And how did we go about it? Just tell us a bit more about that, ma'am.
Okay, now firstly, Sachin, what I would like to tell you was that, like Ashish said, this was a human crisis. People were in a trauma, physically as well as emotionally. They were seeing so much of negativity around themselves that, some people, while talking to me, their throats would just choke. But I could feel that they were not able to express themselves because they were so much emotionally disturbed. They were scared. So, I can give you two very good examples. One of an ex-Cambronite, I think I talked to that girl about 20 years. It must have passed 20 years. I knew her, obviously, she was on Facebook with me. And when I just called her, she started crying on the phone. Ma'am, I don't know what to do. My parents are sick. I'm not getting oxygen. We haven't had a proper meal in days because everyone is down. But what to do? So I just talked to her, and it was a heart-to-heart talk. It was like she was pouring her feelings, and I wanted to hear it from my heart, because I think that is the time when a person needed some compassion, someone who could listen to them and understand what they are going through. So, then I put up a message on the Oxygen group that this girl is there. She's an ex-Cambronite. Her father, her mother, she herself was suffering from COVID. She had little children with her. Then, I just asked her, do you need food? Ma'am, how can I ask you? Please, this is something that I'm craving for, to get home cooked food. I said, don't worry at all. We are there for you. Your whole community, the whole Cambron Hall community is there with you. We are a family. Don't worry, we're standing with each other. So, and the first day when she got the meal from our place, she called me up and says that, ma'am, I was just feeling that I'm getting home cooked food. That was a place, in my heart that, it came, yes, we can make a little bit of a change. Not much. The crisis was around the globe, but a little grain of sand, you can do, and you feel that happiness in you. You can sleep comfortably at night. Then there was, when we opened the kitchens for the public, I got a call from a lady whose mother was, for the last 25 days, on a ventilator in Max Hospital. 4 brothers, father 94 years old. She was all alone. No food. They couldn't eat. They couldn't do anything. And it was like, please, help us. So, that feeling, when I shared with everyone, it was, firstly, like you were saying, how we started managing it when we decided we are going to give cooked meals, arranging the kitchen. And I know everyone was so supportive. If I just used to say that I'm not getting this thing, some or the other way, Shruti, Rajiv, anyone going here and there, I used to get that thing. We hired a cook, we hired a helper, we hired 2 people for the delivery of the food, that the food would go warm and timely should reach people. And another thing what I realized was that the markets were not open. So, we didn't have an idea that we would be cooking 30 meals or we would be cooking 40 meals. And, all of a sudden, rice is not there. Now, what to do? Market is going to open in another 2-3 days. So, going to shops, getting them to open it from behind, give us bags of, rice, little things which we faced. But in that way, I'll say Shruti and Rajiv. A message from me, and, the things would reach. Because we had to give a very nutritious diet, we had to give a well-balanced diet, we had to give a protein-rich diet. And I think the committee never even said no for anything. We were serving paneer and whatever, because we were serving just vegetarian food. But everyone supported that. Nobody said, no, it's expensive or it's anything. Everyone was open-hearted. Whatever you're doing, do it. good menu, good nutritious diet, warm, properly prepared food. You'll be really surprised. We served from Clementown, we served Kuthalgate, we served Vasant Vihar, we served Ghangoda, we served IT Park, but like, we covered all the areas of the city. Then, calling those people back, asking for a feedback. Sometimes, yes, you can imagine in a kitchen where so much of food is being cooked. Aaj thoda roti zyada sik gayi. So I used to get feedbacks like that also. So I said, don't worry, tomorrow we'll see, we'll get better. So sometimes things like this did happen, but really hands off to everyone and to Cha, financing the whole thing. The kitchen was not a small thing to run. 4,000 meals was something, and really Cha came up and supported with the whole kitchen expense, with the salary of the cooks, the helper, the packer, the logistic person. And it was a great teamwork, and I really loved working. And at least at night, I used to feel that, yes, Anurita, you've done a little bit.
Because although we were not speaking to people, but I think there were few families who got back to us and wrote to us, because I received those messages. And they were so heartwarming messages, especially with regard to the food, because food was such an important aspect of it. And I think it did make us feel nice about it, that there was something little bit that we could actually do. So of course, zero, right? The ground zero for us was Dehradun, right? And of course, then it extended to Uttarakhand. So you were quite away from ground zero. So tell me your thoughts. What was going in your thoughts while this entire campaign was going on, and because you were part and parcel of it from day one? And what were the thoughts when you were actually, because I know the amount of efforts that you had put in trying to mobilize support from your classmates and everyone across. And I think one thing that I did say in my introduction as well, which I will have to say again here, is that you almost became like a cheerleader. Every day or every alternate day, you will drop messages at the live, the live member group that we have for Cayman Hall Alumni Association. They were so motivating. So tell us the thought process. Tell us what was going through your mind during those days.
Yeah, so I'll tell all of you two stories. So first of all, I grew up in Dehradun. My sister is also a Cambridgeite. And my claim to fame is I convinced a senior to marry me. And she's from the 96 batch. So my wife, Ranjita Chahal, she's also from Cambridge Hall. Her siblings, so her bhaiya, didi, everybody's in America. Her parents are also in America. But for me, my mother and father are in India. They're still in Dehradun. So what happened was when this whole coronavirus thing exploded in India, I remember that day very clearly. It was the 24th of April. My mom and dad, both of them had just gotten their COVID vaccine. 3 days later, coming the 26th of April, my mother started developing some COVID symptoms. So she started having mild fever, and the human brain sort of always thinks the worst case. So, and Anurita ma'am spoke about this, about fear. So Anurita ma'am, I was really scared कि अब पता नहीं मम्मी को क्या होगा, like where this thing is going to go. Even though she's vaccinated, she's developing some symptoms. And I started feeling helpless that what should I do? And my first reaction was, I'm going to take the next flight from California and go to Dehradun. So at least for mommy and papa, I can be there. But the problem was that the flights were not allowed at that time. The US government had shut down the flights. And also I spoke to one of my classmates, Amit Goel, who also lives very close to my home. So Gaurav Agarwal, me, Amit Goel, we all are in Lakshman Chowk on Park Road. So Gaurav, I spoke to Amit Goel. Amit said, Ashish, even if you come to Dehradun, all of us are locked in our homes. You'll not be able to do much. In fact, you may be putting yourself in harm's way. So it's best you don't come there. And he said that I'm your classmate from Cayman Hall. Don't worry, I'll take care of your parents. And whatever they need, I will make it happen. So I felt really touched. And I think Hemant spoke about community and Anurita ma'am spoke about community. I think this is all that is that in a crisis, how community comes together. So when all this happened, I started wondering, okay, how can I help? I want to help. I cannot go there. I know everything that is happening there. And it's personal for me because my parents are involved. So this is when, luckily for me, all of you decided that you're going to do a fundraising drive and we were going to collect some money to buy oximeters and later for the food stuff and everything. I said, okay, this is my moment to contribute even a little bit sitting so far away. And then I started, and then all I did was I went to my 97 batch group. We are about 100 Cambridgeites on that group. I just sent them a message that, listen, Cambridge Hall Alumni Association is doing this. This is what I have done. And it'll be wonderful if all of you can participate. And then after that, it was just incredible.
One of the other thing that I would say, Ashish, which I think, which is a bit of a competitive spirit. At one point of time, Ashish and me would talk every day, and he would ask me, tell me how many 96 batch people have done. I said, okay, that's the number. He said, okay, let me overpass you. Can I overtake you? But I always had the edge because I had the data. So I could manipulate those data. But yes, but that's the bit on a lighter note. But I think I do. And I really appreciate, all the efforts that you did at that point of time, which was huge support. I must say that. And also what I think it also did, Ashish, I'm sure you will echo that. It also brought us together. I think after so many years, right? So people who are not connected with the community, it gave us a reason to, come together. And I think, this what better occasion than this, for a cause, especially,
Yeah. And on that effect, like having Abhinav, Sachin and me on the same call, this has happened after 25 years. Yeah. And I remember all three over Edward's house, we used to do debating practice. Sachin used to make us do practice.
I'll now go to Minu. Minu, you were, the work that you were doing, and of course, you almost symbolizes for us, a lot of those volunteer people that we had. We had set up a group of volunteer people who did not had a specific mandate per se. Okay, do this or do that. From calling up people, because at that point in time, the chaos and panic, these were the two words that were happening, right? And people just needed beds, availability at hospitals, people needed oxygen at home. So tell us a bit about your day. How would your day be, a typical day during those days? I know they were pretty dreadful, but now after having passed those days, you can actually look back and tell us, and what did you learn out of them?
First of all, so let me say thanks to you for having me on board here. And okay, so it all was very chaotic, if you remember. So there were like messages, they were being forwarded if there was a requirement of oxygen, plasma, medicine, beds, ICU beds, oxygen bed, whatever was required. So I remember everyone was just forwarding messages and I was doing the same. So one day, I don't know how that requirement came up. I just dialed one number and I realized that number was switched off. And that made me realize that most of the thing that we were doing was we were just circulating messages and doing nothing else. So when we formed the group, what we decided was first of all, we will have a format for the patient, like the name, age, requirement, and blood group, whatever. We had certain format, if you remember. And then my number was given, it was shared in the group so that anyone who needed to talk to someone, they could just call me up. Because I was in India, I was available 24/7. See, when the information was given, like what I used to do, my day used to start at 5 a.m. The first thing that I used to do was I used to check my phone if there is any requirement. So if there was a requirement, I just could ignore it, I had this moral responsibility of if I can sort it out, if I can reach out to someone. So I used to go and search the information. I was the member of other groups also. So then later on, like I had this list of hospitals and I had a list of medical stores. Then I used to go and call at those hospitals. I used to confirm the information. Then I used to go back to the family, the caretaker of the concerned person. And then I used to pass the information to that person. So that used to be a whole lot of process, if you know. Dialing. I remember once I called up at a hospital and that the nurse is telling me, "Aapne to pehle bhi call kiya tha." मैंने कहा मैं दिन में 3-4 बार ही कॉल करती हूँ, तो मेरी you remember my voice or you remember my number maybe. The most important thing was to verify the information. You know, there was a lot of junk which was being shared. If you remember, there was a group which was formed on Facebook by Samiksha. I joined that group, and from there I joined another group for Doon Valley. It was a very big group, whereas this we had a smaller group here, the Cha community. We used to get lesser requests here, but whichever request I used to get, I used to forward it to that group. So, like from there, then there were links which were shared. From there, we got the verified hospitals, and then ICU beds, oxygen, flow meter, medical. So I think so. I have numbers of all the hospitals saved on my mobile, plus the medical stores. That was like, and then there was RT-PCR test, if you remember, home RT-PCR test. Well, because that was also a great challenge there. Like the government has allowed, okay, the patient get, whosoever has the COVID symptom will get the admission there, if you remember.
Yes.
We faced the situation at 2 a.m. that time with one of our friends.
Yeah.
So since that test was not done, and if you remember, it was raining heavily, and then that oxygen had to reach from school to the concerned family, and then calling up the concerned person, and then that the whole loop. So it was like it's a tedious task when you're sorting out something. But usually it used to get done. But yes, there were setbacks, there were failures, there were heartbreaks also, I must say. And then I remember some of the families, I don't even know them, I think. They messaged me, okay, we have lost so and so. There were people I don't know in another group, and they were asking from which volunteer organization, for which organization are you working for? I said, nobody. I'm just working like that. So they said, okay, that's a great job that you're doing. So it was it was a learning experience, and yeah, it made me survive through COVID, I must say, because I was helping out someone. So it somehow helped me to fight that feeling of anxiety, because I had to be strong because I am supporting and giving support to some other person. So it was like
I couldn't agree
learning
more. Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Meenu, on the last bit that you said, the distraction. For me as well, personally, I think it was a huge distraction. Coming to Abhinav, you know, one of the most exciting part during the entire campaign was that when all of us got to understand that we have finalized the vaccination camp. And I think I remember that was the time that all of us got very, very excited. Oh, wow, we can get a vaccination camp. And also the very feeling that the school that we grew up, the campus that we lived and enjoyed, we're going to see the most important activity of our lifetime, at least, happening in the very campus, you know, the very auditorium that we actually enjoyed so much, right? So I know these are the nicer part, but obviously behind the scene, there were some challenges, right? Tell us, what were the two biggest challenges that you faced around that time? And I know there were quite a few that you faced. So tell us, how did you handle them?
Yeah, I mean, there were not only two, but yes, I do agree. There were a lot of obstacles and a lot of concerns that came our way when we were actually, you know, planning for this camp. But all thanks to you and all thanks to the core committee members. But the biggest two obstacles which I feel, you know, that came our way was, you know, first we had to finalize a date. Because, you know, there was a lot of, you know, concerns of getting the date from the hospital organization that we are tied up with, right? So, you know, we had a deadline to meet, you know, because we wanted the maximum beneficiaries to come. And, you know, we also had a target to reach a big audience, you know. So, yes, there was some goof up regarding the date. And finally, you know, we concluded on a date. The next biggest thing that I feel we all would agree was to actually, you know, ensure that we have the requisite numbers, right? Because like we tied up for 200 people for the hospital organization when they agreed to have an offsite camp at our school. But then, you know, we weren't sure that, you know, we might entertain, you know, having more than 200 or maybe just 50 people flowing in. So how to actually, you know, get into that mode so that everyone is informed. And, we had a lot of discussion over this, and, this idea came through you that, we'll have a Google form. We were monitoring it so well, every second or third, we used to have an update. How many numbers, okay, we have 40, but we have another 3 days left, so we are okay, just cool. And to be personally, telling you all, I was very nervous at times, and I still remember the date, because, I was very nervous that, the requisite numbers are just 40, and you actually in short, nahi, abhi rehne de, we have another 3 days, it'll double up and it'll triple up. Don't worry. And then there was that announcement that Mr. Modi did, because the Google registrations crossed past 200 on the last date. And I remember we had a late night, WhatsApp discussion where, we all decided to actually increase the number of beneficiaries from the hospital from 200 to 300 in case, because we were so optimistic that, I was too nervous to actually understand that how would we actually do it on the ground, how would I alone manage such a big affair? Because, the biggest challenge was to educate the people, people were actually, not knowing, okay, we have registered on, the Google form. We need not to register on CoWIN app then. So it was actually telling them, so we needed different teams and different stalls, to be installed there. So, what we did, I spoke to Rajiv, he said, don't worry, we'll be there tomorrow. And, we actually organized a dry run first. So 9th was our camp, date. So on 8th, it was 12 o'clock was the time that was decided, and we had a dry run. But then who would actually do the dry run if you don't have the requisite people? So there, this idea floated in that we'll actually call for some volunteers, right? And who better could be a volunteer than just a Cambridgeite? And all again, thanks to you, you floated this message that calling for volunteers, and calling for volunteers meant that we need people to work for us. And at a time when no one is coming out of the home, how do we expect? So I am there out there, with a double mask and a face shield. But then how do I expect, more people to join in? And we were actually, Sachin, I don't know if you remember, we actually, shortlisted that I told you, I require at least 8 people to work there, right? And, so you said, okay, we have 4 now and we have 5 now, and Instagram played an important role. And yes, and instead of 8, think we gathered 12 people, right? And all thanks to this young generation of people, they were all batch 2020, 2021. And, I remember a few of them, Agrani, Suhani, Harsha, and, Priyanshi. They were all young fellows, energetic fellows, and they were all there in full spirits. Actually like to thank my batch of 1996 and everyone in general otherwise who amplified the message, Sachin, I think you remember, in fact, you only get this idea, right? Our WhatsApp status for the next few days should be the vaccination camp, and we all did that. And thanks to this amplification of message, and that's a part of social media, I believe, right? Within no time, and I think within 24 hours and 48 hours, and as time passed, I think everyone was aware. I, in fact, received, endless calls even after the camp stating that, you are the one who are holding camps somewhere, how do I get myself vaccinated? So it was a great feeling, actually, holding that event.
So I think couldn't have summarized it better. And I think I did remember while you were talking about those obstacles, that 2 in particular, I think those were the 2 ones. Although, on the face of it, for any person, it seems a very simple thing. Oh, vaccination camp? Okay, call a hospital. They'll come, bring the vaccination, done. The drive is done. It seems pretty simple, right? But I remember, those dreadful night when Abhinav would call me and say, Sachin, I'm worried. The numbers are not going up. What do we do? I said, don't worry, because, and I think this happened for good. The vaccination camp happened towards the fag end of all the things that we were doing. By that time, what had happened was the mobilization of support and the word for the entire Cambridgeite community was pretty strong. Everybody was picking up all the messages. And I think that helped, A, and B, as you said, the youngsters, the batch of 2019, 20, 21, they turning up. And at one point of time, Abhinav had to say, Sachin, now stop. I don't need any further volunteers. Gaurav, I want to come to you. Another initiative of ours, which is as we speak, which is still going on. And we had a mandate of touching roughly approximately when we started, roughly 800 to 1,000 families. We are pretty, I think 70-80% of what we have already done. So tell us a bit about the dry ration distribution initiative that we started for the villages of Uttarakhand, especially for the vulnerable families who got affected adversely during this pandemic. And take us through, because I know you, Shruti ma'am, Rajiv bhai, and host of other people have actually traveled to these villages, right, on your own, right? So take us through the your experiences and when you visited over there and the entire process. How did you go about the entire thing, right? Because it is a pretty tedious, because you're reaching out to pretty large numbers, which is like 600 families.
So Sachin, I still remember the day I got a call from a pradhan from a village nearby in Dehradun, and wanting for ration, kits for the villagers. And I giving you a call in the night, telling you this, that some villagers want ration. So next day we had a Zoom call where we, spoke on these lines. But maximum people were like that, no, the government is, really helping and ration is not required. But then we again dig in and we came to know that, okay, government is supplying rations, but they are only giving, wheat and rice. Nothing else is being provided. So again, the core committee Zoom call was done, and therein we all decided that the funds what we are getting is only for the oxygen and medicines and the food. So how to go about it? So there you came in and you thought, okay, let's have it. And we all calculated the costings and all. So this is how the funds were generated. So it just happened that one thing was there. We were very sure that we really wanted to do it in a way that we wanted to go to villages ourselves, rather than giving to people and asking them to distribute themselves. We never wanted that. It was from day one, we were very clear about that fact. And when we so it happened that we asked for pradhans and people who are working in villages to get a list from them, and shortlisting the list and getting all the names with the Aadhaar cards. And then the second step was that we were getting it verified, what kind of people that they are, seriously they require the ration or not. We went to Nainbag in terms of villages, where we did around 15 villages there. If I remember, we started at 9 in the morning from Dehradun. We came back at 1 in the night, back, because we did 15 villages. And it was not that at Nainbag we called 15 village, people from 15 villages and we distributed. It was, we went to all those 15 villages and we did this thing to every village we went. I mean, Devprayag, Nainbag again, or anywhere in, Thakurpur or Kandoli or anywhere we went. I remember if Shruti and in fact Rajiv bhai and me went to a village where only 5 people were living, and around 700 meters, it was a walking distance where there was no vehicle allowed because there was no, road. And we went there. She was a handicap. One girl was a handicap out of 5 houses, and a ration kit was, given to her. That was given a high kind of a thing to me personally. And we all went. We did our bit. And to be honest, it was. I feel embarrassed that I've never been to any village of Uttarakhand. This was my first time going there, and it was amazing. I felt contented, honestly. And I still remember this last visit when we went to Nainbag, to one of the villages. I was feeling damn scared because there was no road. And I remember Rajiv bhai telling me, yeah, don't get scared.
One of the main challenges in my eyes was to put the funds to the right use.
Yes.
It is like, because people have trusted us and
Yes.
they are giving in the hope that they'll be used in the right way to the right people. And so that is a challenge as of today also, that they are put they're used wisely. And I think the team is doing a very good job with it. And as far as the dry ration distribution is concerned, honestly, it is fun, yet very, very sad because of the circumstances, the situations, the conditions that people are living in, the entire environment of the place, and how the COVID has affected those people. It was very sad to see that. Although, when we were meeting, we personally went and met all the families, and we came across such beautiful sights also in the bargain. Like we came across a 175-year-old house, and we got to know a lot of Uttarakhandi culture also. Like, Gaurav, this was my first visit to villages. I've never been to any village before, and I'm ashamed to say that, but this is the truth. We learned a lot, though in such a sad situation, but we did learn.
There was a lead from Dr. Divya Rawat. That's a lady who approached me through LinkedIn, and she told me that some around 150 families are wanting to have rations in Devprayag villages, and so we were scared because 2 days back there was a cloud burst in Devprayag itself, and but then also Rajiv Bhai was like, okay, let's go to Devprayag, and she gave us the list of around 120, 30 people, and we left at around 8:30 in the morning, and our Google map was showing around 3 hours to reach, but we took around 6.5 hours to reach Devprayag because roads were blocked. And Divya Rawat, she's from Srinagar, she reached Devprayag at 12 o'clock thinking that we'll reach by 12 o'clock, but we reached at 3:30, and she was standing on the road waiting for us to reach. I mean, look at her dedication, because she wanted, the ration kits to reach the families. So this is how things happened.
So guys, we're almost coming towards the end of the show. But before I let you go, I have one question, which I think, feel free, anybody can come in and speak on behalf of the group. Tell me one message to all the Cameronites. This show is all about Cameronites, right? So all the Cameronites who's watching the show, somebody sitting in Sydney or somebody sitting in Kerala or Gangtok or wherever, whichever part of the world they're sitting in, watching the show, what's your one message for them, especially with your learning with Project Sahyog? What's your message to them?
So I would say that, first of all Cameronites around the world are very special. And I think the reason all of us are very special is because of the environment and the upbringing and the opportunity all of us had in that tiny little campus on Young Road. And all of us have grown with some, I think, exceptional things. So if I think about what's unique about Cameron Hall, is Cameron Hall always emphasized on being all-rounders. We were not just about academics or only about sports or only about debating. We were about being an all-rounder. And I think one aspect of being an all-rounder is giving back to your community, especially in today's times. And that's what I tell every Cameronite. It doesn't really matter where you are. Gaurav is on Park Road, or I'm in California, or somebody else is somewhere else. Every Cameronite can do something for sure. Something for sure. It may be as simple as just doing a like on Facebook when CHA is doing something. It may be as simple as that. Or it may be being really on the ground, like Shruti and Raji, you're putting really yourself out there, going to all these villages that most Cameronites probably have never been to. So it can be as small as anything you want and as big as anything you can make it to be. The key thing is to participate and give back. I think that's what is really needed for all Cameronites. So that's all I'll say. And I was surprised pleasantly then that when CHA said that this is what we want to do, the way people rally around. So Hemant, as a president, my appeal to you is that let's do more. This is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. Let's do more. Give us a challenge. Because 97 batch has to be 96 batch, at least when it comes to fundraising. Give us a challenge and we'll get it done.
As the signature question that I ask everyone who comes on the show, I think I can't leave you without the asking again. The name of the show is Being Cameronite. So again, anybody can take this. What according to you is being a Cameronite?
You know, being a Cameronite has a lot of emotional connect to it, and why people here in this association are so passionate about what they are doing, it proves that fact. You know, we know that from the very beginning, the way this association has come up, I have seen a lot of passion, a lot of people who want to do something for the community or the school. And I see a lot of good people. You know, generally speaking, this whole association has some wonderful people who want to do, and they work from their heart and not from their mind that much. So that community which is together today. I remember of the time when we were in school. I'm very happy to say that the present management, Dr. Biala and Krishna sir and everybody, the way they're optimistic about doing everything, and
Yes.
their spirit is very good, and that is actually driving this association. If we didn't get full support from the school, this association wouldn't have been able to do what we are doing today.
Thank you guys for your time, and I think I enjoyed speaking to you. And I think, as I said at the start of the show, this is one of the most meaningful projects that we would have done, and I'm sure we will remember this for a long, long time. I couldn't close this show without thanking the first student of Cayman Hall, which I always say is the best ambassador of Caymanite, Captain Satinder Chadda. You know, he was such a huge force in whatever little we could do, and I always look upon him for all the inspiration that he brings to the table and to all of us. You know, so thank you very much. I take this opportunity to thank him, Captain Satinder Chadda. You inspire us every day.
Yes, Sachin, can I just make some closing comments for this, for all our Cameronite?
Yeah, sure. Please go ahead.
Thank you. So this poem, I didn't write it, but it's dedicated to all of you, everybody at CHA who worked tirelessly during this current crisis that we're going through in COVID-19. Here it goes. Someone needs oxygen. Someone messages someone. Someone reads the message. Someone amplifies the message. Someone forwards a contact. Someone verifies the contact. Someone calls the contact. Someone answers. Someone collects the cylinder. Someone fills it up. Someone delivers it. Someone is saved. All because of someone's will to help someone. So many someones have come forward to serve humanity in these tough times. Be that someone who's restoring faith in humanity by just being someone.